everybody, and welcome to Bayou Bets. It's Thursday. It's October the 26th, 2023. I'm Jim Derry, along with Spencer the Guru Urquhart, Zoe Collins-Rath's behind the scenes. Gabe Henderson will be with us shortly. We'll do big bucks. We got a lot going on. Spencer, this is a crazy weekend coming up. What's going on?
Yeah, excuse me. Definitely is, Jim. Yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes. You know, Saints taking on the Colts there on Sunday. Going to be fun to see. The lines moved a lot. I know we had talked about that in pre-production. Interesting to see where that lands. But, yeah, so far, it seems like a lot of money coming in on the Saints.
No doubt about it, and that will be one of our topics today. Saints, when I typed this up, the Saints were -1 at the Colts. To show how much it's changed, it's even now. It was pick 'em right before I went on the air, so I didn't have time to go back and fix that. I believe it is correct in the Saints graphic. We'll find out in just a minute, but we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the top NFL and college football games of the week. We're going to talk about the Pelicans opening up strong against the Memphis Grizzlies. And then, of course, it's our big bucks of the week. And somebody is going to wear that turkey hat. We'll find out who in just about 20 minutes. I don't know. I don't think he's on the screen, but not 100% sure. We'll figure that out in just a little bit. But we're going to open it up. Spence, we're going to talk about the Saints. And again, and yes, I did fix it on this graphic. The Saints pick 'em. It was -1 yesterday. It was +1. It was +1 yesterday. -1 Saints last night. -1 Saints this morning. And then changed as I was doing all this stuff. It is now pick 'em. So big money came in on the Saints. And now enough. I don't know if they're Mabels or whatever they are. I don't even know how you even prognosticate this game.
I know, right? Yeah, very unpredictable game here, I feel like. And the thing that I can see why maybe some money was coming in on the Saints was because the Saints have the significant advantage on defense. I mean, when you look at the defensive rankings there, Colts have struggled on defense, below average against both the pass and the run. And the Saints, meanwhile, above average on both sides. But they've been kind of trending down as of late. You know, that Jags game wasn't their best performance, and the Bucks game a few weeks back. So the Saints defense still solid, but Colts offense has been trending up as of late. Now a top 10 offense in the NFL really did work against the Browns, and not necessarily because of Gardner Minshew at quarterback, but because they have a lot of talent at the skill positions. Jonathan Taylor back in the backfield, and Michael Pittman and Josh Downs, too. That you can make a case that's one of the top young wide receiver duos. So,
yeah, Josh Downs has really been a nice surprise if you're in fantasy football for sure. Somebody got them a nice little pick up there. I doesn't have a ton of touchdowns, but I know he's going to work towards that. You got to be worried about this Colts offense. You look at them, Spencer, and they're very balanced on both sides of the ball, even though they haven't been great defensively. Balanced, 19th against the pass, 21st against the run. And then their offense, you were talking about, I don't think there's any drop off whatsoever. If anything, they might be a little bit better with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, 10th passing the football, 9th running the football. I think if you're a Colts fan, you're pleasantly surprised about where your team is right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, especially even though they lost last week against the Browns, they showed a lot of fight in that game. I mean, they by all right should have won it. They outplayed Cleveland. So, yeah, they're even with Minshew there, they're looking up. I mean, they've got talent there. It is just one of those games, though. I'm not touching it with a stick. It's just I don't know what to expect.
You don't trust it, huh?
From either of these teams. No, it's just I feel like the Saints on paper should be okay here because they fared well against Minshew in the past, but there's only 2 meetings on 2 different teams, so he might be better this time around with a lot of talent surrounding him. And then the big question for the Saints, how will Derek Carr and the offense respond? I mean, I know they did better in the 4th last week, but man, they just at all the red zone struggles and then the drama that's all in the Olave and stuff. It's just going to be interesting to see if they can get the ship righted this weekend.
Look, I think what a lot of people have not really noticed, and if you came on this show last week and you see our graphics down at the bottom, the Saints were 24th in passing offense just 2 weeks ago. They're 17th in total offense. That has been steadily going up. They're 12th in passing offense, and that's all because of Derek Carr. Look, I've given Pete Carmichael grief, and rightfully so, but we saw how much better the team went when he got into the 2-minute drill and started doing things on his own. And I think we're going to see a whole lot of that this week. We're talking about in pre-production about how Jeff Duncan has, learned through the grapevine that, that half the team, they hadn't even opened their plans, their offensive plans on their tablets, Spencer. So they're not even paying attention to what the hell's going on. That's a good reason why you're losing right there. So, people want to blame Derek Carr and whatever it is. If you can't get your players, and that's on coaching, if you can't get your players to pay attention to what the damn game plan is, then there's a major problem. So they're going to have to simplify this offense, and I think we're going to see that going forward.
Yeah, for sure. A little counterpoint, though, with Carr, it's like, when you're a quarterback like him being paid big money, you're expected in a way to be somewhat of a coach. Like, you got to be a leader and a motivator. And if these guys aren't being motivated by him, that's a concern. So hopefully he's had a lot of talks with players this week, a lot of one-on-ones. I'm sure with Olave, didn't name names, but I'm sure that was one of them. So hopefully he can get these guys going and prove the doubters wrong, prove that he is a strong leader.
I don't think you can blame motivating a player. If a player can't get his head out his own keister, that's not the quarterback's fault. You look at Alvin Kamara and Derek Carr seem to have worked together just fine. The way they talk together on the sidelines. And I think, obviously, if you look at it, and especially if you looked at Thursday's game, I think that Derek Carr was airing out his grievances and had Alvin Kamara to talk to. And if he didn't have Alvin Kamara to lean on a little bit, I think that he'd be in a world of hurt. I think Alvin Kamara has been kind of his rock, kind of his shoulder. And so now that he's back, you'd think this team would be moving the ball a little bit more. But look, man, these guys are going to get moving. And we talk about, people getting upset about Derek Carr yelling or screaming, and whoever the hell he's screaming. I'm sure it's Olave. I talked about it this morning, Datitude. This is football, man. You can't have a thin skin in football. You got to get moving. You got to, we can't worry about who's talking to who this way and all that. Let's get on with it. You don't think Derek Carr, you don't think Drew Brees, he may not have done it publicly, but you don't think Drew Brees berated his players? We saw Tom Brady do it over and over again. You saw Peyton Manning would do it. You saw even Brett Favre would do it. You go back and talk about the girl. I'm not trying to compare Derek Carr's.
Aaron Rodgers
is famous for it. But I'm not trying to compare Derek Carr's talent to these guys, but that's just the way that football is.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things, if the Saints were winning, it would be the opposite. People would be saying, man, Derek Carr is really motivating 100%. His guys and getting the most out of them. But because he's not winning, people are criticizing him. So
100%.
the bottom line is he's got to perform a little bit better here. I know his numbers have gone up, but he's got to make better decisions, less turnovers, and just more efficiency, just more moving the ball better, which he did down the stretch against Jacksonville. So hopefully that can carry over into this week.
Yeah, if you'd like to leave a comment, if you're watching on either YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook, you can leave a comment in the comment section. We will show it on the screen here. Mr. Horace is with us because it would take at least 24 points to win this game. He likes the over. I could see it going either way. I got to be honest. It wouldn't surprise me if the Saints won 17-10, nor would it surprise me if they lost 30-26. It really is a hard game to pick. I will say this. If I were forced to pick, and I did in my NFL picks column earlier this morning, it came out, I will say this. I favor the Saints only because I think they're an absolute must-win territory. If you start 3-5 with this schedule, and we talked about it before, just a few weeks ago, we were talking about, look, they got a great chance to be 4-2, if you remember that. And if they go 4-2, they could do X, Y, and Z. They're the clear favorites to win this division. Well, now they're not the favorites to win the division anymore. Atlanta is. And I think they're in a position to where you're starting to look at maybe Minnesota's a little better than you thought they were. Maybe the Bears aren't as bad. Maybe Atlanta's better. You still got to play Atlanta twice. Maybe, you got to play Detroit in the beginning of December. Who knows what's going to happen with the Giants? So I think that the Saints they have to win the games they're supposed to win. And I don't care that the spread says pick them. And it may end up Indy -1s with Spencer. I don't care what the spread says or who says what. The Saints have to win this game.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they've got a good shot because, their defense should be able to contain the Colts offense enough. The Saints passing defense has been their strength. Yep. So, their secondary has been solid. So I think Lattimore and those guys can hold strong. Josh Downs, I'm kind of worried about, out of the slot. I think he could be a problem. And he's been a problem all year for teams. The teams pay their most attention to Pittman, and then he gets loose and makes plays. So, and then also Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor being back 100%. I mentioned that on Monday's show that could be a concern because the Saints' run defense, I mean, it hadn't been a weakness per se, but hadn't really been really a strength either. So it's one of those things where can't let the Colts just control the clock, because if Derek Carr is having to throw, then it could be, or if the Colts dominate time of possession, they could win by kind of just by playing keep away. So as far as the total, I'd probably take the under. I mean, the over is kind of tempting because Saints offense trending up, but I don't know. I mean, they're just, the bottom line is they haven't solved their red zone woes.
Right.
So until they do that, it's hard to like any Saints overs.
Yeah, if I had to bet it again, I don't have to bet it. I'm not going to bet it. I wouldn't touch this with a stick. This would be the 16th of 16 games I would play this week. But I would probably lean in a very slight lean to the over, only because Derek Carr, again, is thrown for over 300 yards for 2 games in a row. I think that he will do that again. Again, not something I'm going to bet. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a low-scoring game at all. It wouldn't surprise me if the defense runs the show in this game. So just not something you can bet. It's a really tough game to predict. But again, the Saints are in a must-win territory. I think they will show up. And if they don't, Spencer, before we move on, I said this, I'm on the Fox 8 show Final Bet tonight, and we were talking about this. And I really think that this game, if they can't win this game, I think you're looking at 2022 all over again. And I mean to the T. I mean, it's going to be like Groundhog Day. I think everything's going to be the same. It'll be exactly like last year. They'll stink, and then they might make a little run at the end to make people think that they're good, and they're not. So that's another reason why I think they need to win this game. You cannot be 3-5, or else you're staring 7-10 right in the face.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, this is a difference between them having a repeat of last year, or if they win this, then they're still on track to make the playoffs probably, because the NFC Vikings are trending up, but we don't know if that's going to last. I mean, they got at Green Bay this weekend. That could easily be a loss for them, and then they're back in a bad situation. And I mean, the Rams, they kind of got exposed last week. They're not all that great. And the rest of the NFC South is nothing special. So, and then the NFC East, outside of Eagles and Dallas, both of the other teams stink. So, still a wide open conference.
Maybe the Saints stink too. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. The NFC is it's hard to get excited about anybody. So, I'm still gonna stick to the 8-9 thing, like to where I still think they'll probably find a way this Sunday. But if they don't, then like you said, Jim, it's going to be a long season. All
right, we're going to come back to football because I'm going to bring Gabe in when we talk about the big games of the weekend. And we're going to come back to the NFL and college and all. We're going to have our big buck segments coming up. It's all about football in just a minute. But I do want to go back. I want to touch on basketball for just a minute. And I ran out of time. I didn't make a slide. So I'm just going to put our Bayou Bets screen up there while we talk about the Pelicans briefly. Spencer, last night, I want to know, get your take on it. Look, the Pels played very well last night, except for a stretch in the first quarter and maybe the last few minutes of the game when they were just trying to run out the clock. But, I thought seeing the big three in there was nice. And I get that there was no Ja Morant from Memphis, but I thought the Pels played very well, a place in Memphis where the Grizzlies only lost 6 home games last year. Pelicans come out of there with a 111-104 victory, and it really wasn't that close. They led by 16, by as much as 16, with I think about 6 minutes left. So Pelicans looking strong to get started.
Yeah, it was good to see that. Good to see some new guys off the bench. Matt Ryan,
yeah,
the quarterback,
not that Matt Ryan,
3-point specialist Matt Ryan, come off the bench and chip in some points. So that was good to see. And then of course he had a starting 5 was healthy. Herb and Jonas also did good. That was good to see because Zion, BI, and CJ are all really good, but don't want it to have it to where they're all having to score 25 plus. So having some support there on top of the big three, Pels are definitely looking up. Memphis, though, a little wounded. I mean, Ja Morant, their best player, was out. Their center, Steven Adams, out for the season. So this Memphis team might not be as good as last year.
Pels need to have a hot start. They have 10 of their first 15 games are at home, and they come home this weekend. They get a little time off, which is nice. You start off, you get it out, get the rust off. I thought Zion looked better in the second half. He's going to look. he's not. I don't think he's going to be great in the early part of the season. It's been a long time since he played basketball, so I think it's going to take him a little while to get going. I thought CJ was in midseason form, looked good, and so was Bi hitting the mid-range shot. He looked excellent last night. But Pels get a little time off. They play the Knicks on Saturday night at home in the Smoothie King Center, and then they get Golden State Warriors on Monday night. So that should be interesting. We talked about it on Monday, and we'll tell you here again. The Pels, an interesting start to the season. It's certainly not easy by any stretch. We'll see how it goes. All right, let's get back to football. And a reminder, forgot to remind you earlier, we asked you to subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. You can always find out when we're going on. All of our live shows are on there Monday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Datitude Live tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'll talk more about that later. But also, that Caesars Sportsbook is the official odds partner of bet.nola.com. Okay, let's bring in Gabe Henderson here. And, Gabe, we're going to talk about it in some of the big games this weekend. LSU is off. So, they're preparing for Alabama, Gabe. Tulane's got Rice, 10.5 point favorite against a Rice team that shellacked Tulsa last week. I think a much better team than people give them credit for. And then, what do you see? What is your biggest game of the weekend, whether it be college or pro? Is it on this screen?
Yeah, I would probably say it's Oregon against Utah. And, this was one that almost made my big bucks picks. I decided to go in a little different direction, but I actually like Utah to lay the points. I'd like them to win by about 10 points probably in this game. I think with Cam Rising out for the season, I think Utah can't compete with Oregon offensively. So that's my biggest game of the week.
Spence, what you got?
Yeah, I got Florida here. I think Florida can hang with Georgia. I'm not going to pick them to win outright, but if you're giving me 14.5, I think this will be a fairly close game. I think Georgia will eventually pull away, but I think Florida, they'll keep it about 7-10, then Georgia might get ahead by a couple. But I think Florida will find a way to at least cover this.
That sounds like Billy Napier homerism.
I mean, hey, he's done a decent job there. Not a very good job, a decent to where I think they'll cover this. I'm not picking them to win. Believe me. I think Georgia is for sure going to win this game. But this is a rivalry game. We know how these rivalry games can go.
What's funny about Florida is people were like calling for Billy Napier's head earlier in the season. It's exactly. I mean, football fans are absurd. I mean, you got a really good coach. Sometimes things don't start off the way that you want them to start off. I mean, just think about last year, how it started for LSU, and people were asking to get rid of Brian Kelly and get rid of Jaden Daniels. I mean, they were asking to get rid of some people were asking to get rid of Jaden Daniels earlier this season. I mean, people are just silly. El Rey's pulling for the Gators. I don't see it there. This is not a pick. I hate that hook. 14.5 might be my least favorite spread to play. They're basically begging you to take Florida. I mean, they're all but saying, look, we'll give you free money if you take the Gators. I ain't doing it. I'm not falling for that at all. If I had to bet this one way or the other, I'd probably bet Georgia. But again, I'm not running out to take that. And Utah has played really good football lately. But the one that interests me the most on this screen, it's got to be San Francisco and the Bengals. And I don't want to get too far into it because I think we all three of us might have this in our big bucks picks. I know I do. In one form or fashion. Oh, you do not. Okay. Well, I was going back and forth with Uncle Big Nick earlier about this game. I'll talk about it later. But look, can the 49ers stop this skid? They're probably going to be without Brock Purdy. He's in concussion protocol. They're going to have to play with Sam Darnold. Can Christian McCaffrey take this team and lift them on their shoulders? And the Frisco defense hold off Joe Burrow? Is the week off? Does the bye change everything for Cincinnati? We're going to find out because, and let me tell you, this is a huge game for both of these teams. The Niners, I mean, you don't want to lose three games in a row. You don't see teams. In fact, there's only one team, I believe, that's ever lost 3 games in a row and won the Super Bowl. Do you know who that team is, by the way?
The Saints.
It is the Saints. They lost the last 3 games of the regular season and still won the Super Bowl. I believe that they're the only team ever to lose 3 games in a row. I'd have to look that up, so don't quote me on that. But, I mean, look, I still think the Niners are the best team in the NFC, and we're going to find out more about them. But it's a lighter slate in college football. Again, Tulane Rice, before we move on and go to Big Bucks, what do you guys, what's your thoughts there?
I like Rice in this one because Tulane's pass defense is a concern, and JT Daniels, Rice's QB, bounced around, but he settled in pretty good with Rice. He's been arguably the best QB in the AAC and has Christian McCaffrey's little brother as the #1 receiver. So, yeah, this Rice passing attack's legit. I mean, I definitely think they can hang with the wave here being at home. So, hard to pick against the, Rice money line. That's a little rich, but Rice plus 10.5, I feel pretty good about that.
Gabe?
I like the over.
Yeah, that is a low over, actually. That's a pretty low over for this game.
A lot of points, especially Rice at home. I mean, they didn't give Texas a game, but they've been in just about every other game this season. They actually beat Houston at home, a Houston team that we saw hang with Texas recently. So I think Rice is, this isn't your father's Rice. It's not necessarily a good team, but this team can still hang with some.
Oh, the Sam Houston Institute of Technology. Gotta love it. I am going to take. I would, if I had to bet this one again, and not another one. I'm not going to touch. Uncle Big Nick likes Rice. Excuse me, but I like the Tulane. And look, it's not really for a logical reason, because if you look at the numbers, it's like what Spencer said. Tulane's weakness on defense has been their pass defense. Their rushing defense is just insanely good, but Rice doesn't really try to run the ball. So, I mean, if you're looking at it from that angle, Rice would have the advantage and be able to keep it close. I just think Tulane isn't kind of going to be in statement mode soon. I think they're about to that point where they're about to make their statement and make a run. Michael Pratt was just okay. He's really just been okay since he came back from injury. He hasn't been great since he came back, but I just have a hunch and a feeling that Tulane is going to come out strong in this game and have something to prove. We'll see. Tulane, by the way, the Tulane-Rice rivalry goes back 107 years. That's even longer than I've been around. So that shows you how long that has been. All right, time to get to our favorite part of the show on Thursdays, and that is Big Bucks. Thomas isn't here this week, but Thomas isn't the turkey. You see where the turkey, the good thing about this is when I'm doing this graphic, I don't even have to move anything around, because Gabe just let Gabe be the turkey every week. You got the turkey right over here by Gabe. We all, I can't brag though. We all had awful, and I mean awful weeks. I mean, I was the leader of the pack, and I was $26 in the hole. So Thomas had a little bit better week than he had the week before. He's minus 34. Guru, man, you're in the 8s now. Your first number is an 8. You gotta get rolling. So we're gonna go from worst to first with picks. However, that being said, I tell you what, we'll let you go first, Gabe, and then when we get to Thomas, I'm gonna have to read them because I ran out of time and did not have time to. There it is. That's a nice looking hat there. How are you gonna change things around this week?
Well, I mean, as you can see, I changed things around this week a little bit by throwing a teaser in there. I guess I'll touch on that first. I mean, Cincinnati at San Francisco. I texted you guys yesterday when the Brock Purdy news dropped. The lines changed a little bit, moved about 2 points, but I was running to the bank to get Cincinnati.
You and every Mabel on the planet.
Yeah. So, and I like them to keep it within 10 points at least with Joe Burrow, and then I like Pittsburgh against Jacksonville. Pittsburgh is a sneaky 4-2. I don't know how that's happened with Matt Canada there. Obviously, LSU fans know that, but that's my teaser. Throwing that in there to change things up this week. I like the Texans to cover against the Panthers. I think the Texans have the advantage at quarterback, and I think the Texans have the advantage in coaching. They're 4-2 against the spread this season. Carolina, much like their record, 0-6 against the spread. So I like that there. Florida, Georgia, we talked about it earlier. I like the over in this game. I think Georgia is capable of scoring 48 points by themselves, if we're being honest. They made a statement. This is what Georgia does. They coast through the season. Just as people start to doubt them, they hang 51 on a team like Kentucky. They can score. Georgia's doing the same thing they always do. I think this game will go over pretty easily. 5 of their 7 games this season have gone over 48, with 1 at 47. So I like that. And then the one that was puzzling me was Duke. Duke underdogs against Louisville. Louisville had that big win over Notre Dame. But, I think this one really has to do with the health of Riley Leonard. But I really, really love Duke's defense. Mike Elko is legit. He's built a contending team here in the ACC. And, the Blue Devils continue to get doubted. Last week, they were huge underdogs against Florida State. Riley Leonard kept them in it for a while before Florida State pulled away late. I like Duke to win that game outright.
We were talking in pre-production about how in the Duke Mayo Bowl they dump you with mayo. We're gonna get Libby's to sponsor us and do the Libby's Gravy Bowl, and we're gonna dump gravy all over you if you lose another. If you have to wear that turkey hat again, I mean, I think we'll just dump you in gravy.
I think that last pick there on that board, Falcons -2.5. I think
that's going to be the one that gets you over the top, huh?
That might be free money with Will Levis starting for the Titans. Everyone knows what I think of him.
I wouldn't touch that game if you gave me money to bet it. That's how much I have confidence on that.
I've got free money here to bet it, and I'm not putting it on my board.
It's not real money. It's a good thing. Otherwise, you might have to go dock your mortgage payment. I don't know what's going on. All right, Spencer. You're up, man. You got to get that first number's got to at least get to a 9 next week.
I know, right? Yeah. Otherwise, I might as well get the gravy treatment too, because man, I've had a really rough year with big bucks. I don't know how I haven't been the turkey, but it's time to get the ship turned around. So got the Seahawks over the Browns, y'all. Browns are frauds. Do not trust them. Deshaun Watson again. So hey, I'll take the Mabel here. Sometimes those Mabel picks work out. Sometimes the books. Did Mabel? I feel like it'd be Mabel if it was -3, but to me, the 3.5, I felt actually better that it was 3.5.
84%.
So I will take it. And my teaser here got the Chargers and Lions primetime teaser, going with a couple of home favorites here. I think the Chargers will be able to get it done there. The Bears, Tyson Bagent's going to come back to earth, and then the Lions. I mean, they'll be back at home. Jared Goff is great at home, so I think they'll get that one done. And then, sorry, Gabe, got the Panthers getting their first win this year over the Texans. I see Bryce Young having a good game here. Bryce Young versus C.J. Stroud. I think with Frank Reich no longer calling plays, I think Carolina's offense sees an uptick in production. And then Vikings and Packers under. I see this being kind of an ugly game. Packers offense in a rut. Vikings offense usually doesn't perform too well at Lambeau. And then got another college parlay. It saved me last week. And see if it can help me out again. A&M -14 over South Carolina. Feel like the Aggies rolling this one at home. And then UCLA over Coach Prime's Buffs. Sorry, Zoe. I don't see the Buffs winning too many more games. UCLA's got a solid defense, and just seems like Colorado's kind of hit a wall.
To back up your Vikings Packers under, by the way, I think it's supposed to be raining in Lambeau Field on Sunday, so that will not help them trying to score any points. Jordan Love has had his issues. I actually almost took that. That would have been the 6th play on my card had I played. And the reason why I was confused earlier and thought we all took the San Francisco-Cincinnati game in some form or fashion is because we all took the Panthers-Texans game in some form or fashion. You would think that would not be a marquee game to be bet, but I see an advantage to it. I'll get to it in a minute. I want to put Thomas Casale's picks on the record, though. Again, I ran out of time to make his slide, but I will read them out there so we get him on the record. He's got a 7-point teaser, and I'll just put this back on the screen so everybody see where we are. But he's got a 7-point teaser. Bills -2 tonight. Cowboys +0.5 point, and Lions -1. So he's with you, Spencer. That's coming up. And you know what? Let me put this back up there. I'll just put your screen back up. And then he's got and that's for $20. It's actually $20 to win 23, I believe. That is a +130 bet, or maybe 20 to win 26. I'll have to look. Lions team total over 27.5. He's also likes the Rice Tulane over 54. So like we were talking about, Gaby's with you on that. Louisville -4.5 over Duke. I think he might be the only one of the 3 here. Spencer, you didn't mention it, but I like Duke as well. I saw that Gabe likes it. What's your thoughts on the Louisville-Duke game?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, Riley Leonard's banged up, though, so I'd probably lean Louisville here.
Okay. And Ohio State -14.5 over Wisconsin. Wisconsin hasn't been very good. And there's another case at 14.5. They just beg you to take the other side when they get to 14.5. All right, time for my big bucks picks. Again, I'm the only one in green, but I'm not bragging because it wasn't great last week. I won my best bet, and I won my last bet, and everything in the middle stunk. I was 2-3, 16-14 for the year. Look, the Texans, D'Amico Ryans, I think he's going to get this team eventually to where they want to go. Gabe, and I know that you're seeing things through your rose-colored glasses, but the truth is the Texans defense hasn't been very good, which is kind of a surprise. They're 26th overall in the NFL. They're 27th against the pass. And so with Frank Reich giving up his play calling duties to the OC, I think that this is going to help Bryce Young a little bit. I really think things are going to open up. I also like the over in this game. I believe it's around 41 or 42. I like the Panthers getting the 3. I'm not going to go like Spencer did and call the money line outright, but I do like the Panthers getting the 3 points, although I do think they get their first win. I got a money line parlay. This actually changed not too long before we went on the air. It was minus 112 yesterday, minus 107 this morning. It's dropped to even money, this parlay, because of San Francisco keeps dropping. I like the Niners here. I think the Niners are going to say, you know what? We're still the best team in the NFC. We don't need Brock Purdy. I mean, it's great that we're going to get him back soon, but we can win with Sam Darnold. We can win with whomever. And they kind of showed before last year that they could win with whomever. And Christian McCaffrey is going to help lead this team. Probably no Debo, but look, Ayuk's ready to take the slack. George Kittle's going to be fine. And I think this defense is going to stifle Joe Burrow. I don't think that the Cincinnati offensive front can handle the San Francisco front. I really don't. So I like that. And then I'm throwing in Miami over New England with it. Miami, last 10 games in Florida, Miami has an 8-2 record against New England. Straight up. And that's going back into the Tom Brady days. So Miami plays New England. Even when they stunk, they were playing New England well. Now that they're good, they won by 7, I think, in week 2. In Foxborough, I think they win this one easily. So I like Miami in this one. Giants under 36.5. You know, when I saw 36.5, I'm like, kind of a weird number. But then I went and looked. Since the start of the 2020 season, there have been 24 over-unders of 36.5 or less. Only 4 times has the over hit. That is an insta-under bet. Same goes for the Falcons-Titans, by the way. If you want to parlay those two for a little bit, that might be a good underplay as well. That one was 35, though. I'm going against Spencer here. Browns plus 3.5 against the Seahawks, and this is strictly a bet against the public. That's the only thing it is. Look, I don't think Geno is played very well at all. I don't care that his QBR is 11. The fact that he only has 7 touchdown passes with his receiving core tells me he's not playing very well. He's got 7 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions. I don't think the Seattle is not impressed me at all. They have not used Kenneth Walker in the right way. To me, I'm not impressed with their coaching staff, and I think the Browns defense is going to show up like they should have showed up last week. They're going to get their act back together. I don't know if the Browns win in Seattle, but I definitely think they keep it close. And getting the Deshaun Watson saga behind them, that is no longer going to be a distraction. I would be willing to bet that Stefanski puts Deshaun Watson on the IR very soon, and we'll see P.J. Walker about the next month. And then my teaser, very similar to one. I like teaser Spencer. I like Spencer's teaser, and I've got one that's similar. I also have the Chargers in there on Sunday Night Football. I think, sorry, Zoe, I think they just blow the Bears away. I love, you got to love the story of the backup quarterback, but that's coming to an end. Justin Herbert's going to have a field day with that Bears defense. And then Dallas has won 10 in a row at home, 10 in a row. And the Rams, I think they're starting to come back down to earth a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. Now, we all need a little comeback. I want to see nothing but green on this board next week, boys. Nothing but green. Gabe,
like it's gonna
get that
happen.
turkey hat off your head. All right. Let's talk about, before we go off the air this afternoon, World Series is starting up. Sorry, Gabe, it is not the Houston Astros, but the good news is Dusty Baker retired. I'm sure you're happy about that.
Ecstatic about that. Now here's to hoping they don't hire Brad Ausmus.
Ooh, yeah, that wouldn't be good either. But who knows? Sometimes the Astros have proven that they can win despite their manager. Look, this is an interesting manager. I want to find anyone. Just anyone. Show me a ticket. Email me, jdarry@theadvocate.com. Show me your futures ticket. You had the Rangers and the Diamondbacks in the World Series, even like a month ago. Please send me your ticket. I'll show it on the screen. Be happy to show it here. Spencer, who you got, Rangers or D-backs?
For the whole series or just
for the whole thing?
Whole thing. Shoot, I'll go with the Rangers for the whole thing. I think the Diamondbacks will come out in game 1 with Zach Gallen pitching and take that. Kind of scared of Rangers, but I think at the end the Rangers find a way. Rangers in 6.
Gabe?
I'm going to go complete opposite of Spencer. I actually really like the Rangers. a little preview of tomorrow's newsletter best bet. I like the Rangers run line tomorrow. Zach Allen has not been good. I think the Rangers will come out and absolutely rally, and I think they'll hit left and right off him tomorrow. But I think the answer backs eventually win the series. That might be a pick with my heart, but it's what I'm going with.
Well, I'll reassure your heart. I agree 100% with everything you just said. I think the Diamondbacks have showed their moxie. I think they fall behind in this series just like they fell behind the Phillies, but you can't kill them. They ought to call themselves the Arizona Cockroaches. You can't kill them. You just can't kill them. That's how just scrappy they are. They were fighting with the Cubs to get in the playoffs about a little over a month ago at this time. It was what. We went, about 8 or 9 days left in the season, and they were tied for that last spot. And then the Cubs went on a little losing streak, and the Diamondbacks kind of pulled away. Diamondbacks at one point this season lost 9 games in a row, and here they are in the World Series. I'm impressed. And sometimes, the thing about baseball is you got to get hot at the right time. And normally the team that wins the World Series is the hottest one. The Rangers are hot. I'm not taking anything away from them. They can hit the ball with the best of them, but there's just something about this scrappy Diamondbacks team. They're going to find ways to run on the Rangers, and I think the Rangers jump out to a lead, but I think the Diamondbacks find their way back. Why not? Diamondbacks in 7. We'll see how it goes. And if nothing else, they're the only team of the 4 teams that were left of the Final Four that I didn't have a future on. So that's another reason why I think they're going to win. That's just how it goes. All right, guys, we will see you on Monday. We ask you again to subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. Any final thoughts, Gabe Henderson?
Go Diamondbacks.
Spencer?
Go Rangers.
Okay, well, that's pretty easy. Mine's about attitude. Larry Holder will not be with us tomorrow. He is playing in a tennis tournament, believe it or not, in Shreveport. And so it'll be Doug Mouton of WWL TV joining us tomorrow. We will get more in depth with the Saints. We'll see if he thinks he can predict what's going to happen. We'll also talk maybe about some of the best games of the week in the NFL, and maybe just a sliver of a preview. We didn't talk about it today, but we'll probably talk about LSU, Alabama a little bit. That's coming up. Datitude on these same channels tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and wherever you get your podcasts later in the day. For Spencer the Guru Urquhart, for Gabe Henderson, for Zoe Collins-Rath, for Thomas Casale, who couldn't be with us today, I am Jim Derry. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. Saints-Colts. I hope we have a happy show on Monday. We'll find out. See you later.